Welcome to the next video dedicated to the mystery of UFOs, UAPs. Before we take a hopefully deep dive into the phenomenon of alleged alien abductions, today we are going to cover the recent events, which may as well be quite a substantial contribution to the overall effort aimed at the public disclosure of UFOs and non-human intelligent life. The first news came out on the 21st of May when Lou Elizondo, the person once in charge of the AATIP office, which stands for Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program within the United States government and a long-standing driving force behind the disclosure effort, including publication of the declassified UAP videos published in New York Times in 2017, announced that his book titled Imminent is going to be released on 20th August. And the book is now available on pre-orders, at least with Amazon. Supposedly the date has also been shifted to the 10th of August as well. If you wish to check out a bit more on Lou and his efforts, I'm going to provide a link to his website in the comments, as well to videos in which he talks with Kurt J. Mungal, who runs the YouTube channel Theory of Everything. This is a very long and an amazing conversation which covers a lot of ground dedicated to the UAP topics in general, their wider understanding, and I wholeheartedly recommend watching it. Here, let us just share a fragment of said interview, one which has become well known and also a running meme in the UFO community.
Space Cowboy, remember that last question that you couldn't get to, which was, if the general public knew or saw what you saw, what would the next week look like? How would the public react?
Somber. I think there would be this big exhale for about a day. And then this turning inward and trying to reflect on what this means to us and our species and ourselves. I think...
Somber, sorry, like a sigh of relief?
Somber meaning serious. Not like Hollywood portrays people partying in the streets and silliness like that. I think you would have some people perhaps turning to religion more so. You might have some people turning away from religion. I think you're going to have, at that point, the philosophical and theological questions will be raised, and people will have some serious soul searching to do, no pun intended. And I don't think that's bad, by the way.
In regards to Lou's book, people are hopeful that the title itself is a hint and that the actual disclosure of the presence of non-human intelligent life forms is indeed imminent upon us. Another thing worth of note in regards to said book is that the potential buyers interested in the pre-order should be careful. Some users on Reddit have reported that there are false books circulating on Amazon, sold as an early access version of the imminent title already being delivered to the customers. It is an almost exact copy of the book cover as well, with its slight typographic errors and the name of the alleged author added onto the image in the middle of the book cover, so just beware. Time will tell what Lou Elizondo's book is going to cover, or rather uncover. The author himself said that the book is going to contain information not released before and that the material itself had to undergo a DOPSR clearance in order to be published, as the nature of the material is still considered to be at least partially secret and could infringe upon the national security of the United States of America. The proverbial bombshell also dropped on the 21st of May. During the yearly SALT conference taking place in New York City, which in words of the organizer is a global thought leadership and a networking forum encompassing finance, technology and public policy makers, it involves investors from Wall Street looking for breakthrough ideas and opportunities. The closing talk of the conference, hosted by Alex Klokus, involved Colonel Carnell, the aforementioned possible supervisor of David Grush, both gentlemen whom we have already mentioned in a video dedicated to the key events in the UAP world in 2023. During his talk, Colonel Nell said directly and openly that, but let the man speak for himself.
And so, Carl, here's the million-dollar question. Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
Right. So non-human intelligence exists. non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
And so, Carl, that is quite a bold statement. I'm wondering, and I'm curious, how confident are you that that is true?
There's zero doubt.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall at that very moment and see the expressions of those present. It was an open statement directed to serious people after all, and I believe it was a very clever element of the efforts aimed at disclosure. For one, it may as well be a part of the overall strategy for disclosure presented by Colonel Nell last year during the symposium organized by the Sol Foundation, a think tank involving key experts in many fields related to UAPs. A controlled disclosure which may prevent the worst of many possible consequences of disclosure. And as Colonel Nell continued during his talk at the SOLD event, the consequences of disclosure may be quite seismic. He compared the possible fallout of an official announcement of non-human intelligent life as an event on the scale of the so-called Bronze Age collapse, when almost all empires of the ancient world fell apart and the world as people knew back then had to recover and almost reinvent itself in many ways. Another important consequence of such statements coming forth from a distinguished senior officer in the military was the diminishing of the public stigma experienced by many people advocating for disclosure of alien life and its acknowledgement as actual reality. I have attached the link to the full talk with Carl Nell in the links section, and this is another piece of a video that I would very gladly and eagerly recommend listening to. Aside from its obvious possible shock value, it provides a reasonable and sensible approach to the many ramifications of changing the awareness and mindset of humanity into the potential age of coexistence with the unknown others. The next breakthrough event also involved a member of the American military. This time, the hero of the day was retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, a lifelong sea lover and oceanographer and the holder of a PhD degree and a two-star admiral in charge of several important projects within the US Navy. A person with the top secret and compartmentalized clearance, TSSCI, which is effectively the topmost official clearance providing access to almost all classified information available. Admiral Gallaudet was interviewed by the nationwide American TV station on the 30th of May. The video involving the Admiral also presented the introduction involving a video recording of the now famous Tic Tac object observed by the crew of USS Nimitz. The introduction also presented the transmedium object entering the ocean from the air. During the interview, the Admiral confirmed that there are objects operating in both air and sea, objects that are beyond the control and technological capacity of the modern military. Admiral Gallaudet indicated that the technology is not just beyond the reach of the US military, but is generally beyond the reach of any military or a technological power of the world at the moment. It was clearly indicated that this is a safety concern, an unknown variable that operates with impunity around us. Whoever controls the technology, as we don't know who it is and where they come from, but it is clear that the objects are under intelligent control and design. Now let's ask ourselves a question: why was this interview important? Let's start with the thought that people who are interested, especially vividly so, in the topics of UFOs, USOs, UAPs already knew all of this, but the topic is still very largely shunned by the mainstream media. Here we had the first and a very serious hint stated outright by a person whose rank carries authority and seriousness, indicating that there may be non-human intelligence operating on Earth in an unknown capacity. To the average person on the street and before the telly, this may have been possibly an eye-opening experience. Why not as loaded as the UAP hearings in the Congress last year or Colonel Nell's statements, which we have just talked about? It was the first public indication in nationwide reach media in the US, hinting at the possible unknown and in any case still very poorly studied part of our reality. You can find the link to the full video with the Admiral below. The last and extremely important piece of recent news came from the American Congress. The Californian Representative Robert Garcia put forward a proposed amendment resembling in legal tone and in its content the NDAA UAP amendment proposed by Senators Schumer and Rounds last year. In fact, the newly proposed legislation largely coincides with the stipulations cut out from the last year's document. This means the potential introduction of eminent domain clauses, which would have the US government potentially regain control over the exotic technology and materials which are allegedly in the possession of private contractors, as well as of any non-human biologics. In any case, the legislation could possibly expand the ability to disclose information pertaining to non-human intelligent beings. Unfortunately, the proposed amendment was not put to debate on the House floor, supposedly thanks to the efforts of anti-disclosure members of the Congress who are rumored to be sponsored by the so-called military-industrial complex blocking disclosure. There are still chances that it may be passed through the House, but hopes are not especially high as we speak. When it comes to the next video, I am thinking of two ideas at the moment. The first one is to take a look at the two core aspects of the UAP phenomenon often cited by people interested in it, the so-called nuts and bolts, or the material side of the UAPs, namely the craft and its behavior, followed by the so-called woo, or the perceived supernatural or metaphysical part of the phenomenon and its potential implications. The other thing I have in mind is to finally examine the reality of alleged alien abductions of people by non-human entities in a bit more detail. How much truth there is to them, how did it all begin, and what it actually is. What is the reasoning behind the abductions, if those indeed take place, and what may be at play, and if such events are indeed real. We could possibly begin from the first well-attested case of Betty and Barney Hill, and then we would go through a few other well-known cases, like for example Travis Walton abduction, and eventually focus on the phenomenon as a whole. Until the next time, stay vigilant and look up to the skies. You never know what you may see there.